Let's go to Wisconsin right now. Scott Walker, governor of Wisconsin, trying to do a lot of the same things that you've done, but he's thrown in collective bargaining and has created a firestorm that you haven't even created in New Jersey. Was that a mistake? Was that a bridge too far for him to go after collective bargaining?
Listen, I think he's got to make those judgments in Wisconsin for what the political climate will tolerate in Wisconsin.
Why didn't you do it in New Jersey?
Well, because, listen, first of all, I didn't campaign on it, and I don't think with a Democratic legislature, even if I wanted to do it, I would have support for it. So you always have to look at how do you solve a problem with what's politically possible.
Should public unions have collective bargaining?
Well, listen, they should have responsible collective bargaining. We haven't had that in New Jersey. I mean, listen, under my predecessor, under Governor Corzine, basically they sat around a round table, held hands, sang Kumbaya, and decided how much of the taxpayers' money to take. It should be an adversarial situation. Someone should be representing the taxpayers. And in New Jersey, that hasn't been the case until now. And, also, by the way, I heard the union leaders on here yesterday, Mr. Trump talking about the sanctity of collective bargaining. But the unions don't care about the sanctity of collective bargaining. When they don't get what they want at the table, then they run to the legislature and get it done by law.
Okay.
So you can't have it both ways, Miki. You can't say everything should be done at the table. But if we don't get what we want, we'll go by the legislature and get them to give it to us by law. Because then if you do that, then you got to let the government go back to the legislature and say, well, now let's take some of this away. Either should all happen at the table, or we all run to the legislature and make laws.
I don't disagree with that. But if there isn't responsible collective bargaining, A, whose fault is that? And B, do you get rid of it? And by the way, how does, because I haven't heard the answer to this question all week, what does collective bargaining have to do with deficits and spending and fixing the math?
Well, listen, here's what it has to do with in the long term. In the long term, if you don't get control of that situation, if you don't get control and have responsible partners across the table, then costs continue to be driven up. How is it, do you think, that New Jersey winds up paying 92% of the health care costs of every public worker on $24,000 policies a year? How is it that our pension deficit is $54 billion, that we're giving 9 and 10% increases without funding it? That happens two ways, either through the pressure of irresponsible collective bargaining or through the money that the unions pour into the legislature to get these things done legislatively.
Okay,
neither one of them is responsible collective bargaining.
As Mike Barnicle always says, it's not like these deals were done with guns to the head of governors and legislatures through the years. What do you say to somebody that's on a fixed income in Wisconsin? They have budgeted it out for years based on the benefits that they were guaranteed, based on the health insurance that they were guaranteed, and suddenly one day a Republican legislature and governor comes in and says, we're taking it all away from you tomorrow.
Listen, I feel badly about it, but here's what I say. I say the same thing to them that I say to the factory worker in Wisconsin who got laid off despite the fact that he wasn't planning on it because the economy turned down. It's because the economy has turned down and the promises that were made were too big. And we have people unemployed in New Jersey who are losing their homes because they can't pay their property taxes. And the main driver of property taxes in New Jersey are employee costs. Public employee costs are 75% of property taxes. So I say the same thing to that state worker.
Jim Cramer just said, Jim, you just said you may have to leave New Jersey because the taxes are so high. Property taxes are so high.
My property tax now exceeds my interest on my mortgage.
Sure.
I never thought this could happen. It is incredible. I cut my mortgage, I refinanced. My amount went up because of what you're talking about.
That's right.
No one can sustain that.
No, it can't be sustained. And the fact is we have to work together to try to fix the problem. But I'll tell you this, I haven't gotten any cooperation yet from the unions in New Jersey on any level. I asked the teachers last year, you all remember this, we had to cut $820 million from aid to K-12 education. I said to the teachers union last year, you freeze your salary, just freeze it for 1 year and contribute 1.5% of your salary to pay your health benefits, and I won't have to lay off one teacher.
Wait, just 1.5%?
1.5% of their salary. 1% of their salary, Joe.
That's unbelievable.
To pay their health benefits. And you know what they told me? Go to hell. And so we lay off teachers.
So what are they paying now in Wisconsin? Isn't it like 5.8%?
Right. In New Jersey, it's 1.5% of salary.
Wow. Okay.
And by the way, not every teacher pays that. Most teachers, the majority of teachers in New Jersey, because of their union, pay nothing for their health benefits. Zero. Nothing.
The numbers just don't add up.
This is going to be just a huge problem for the next number of years, which is that the public service unions all across the country are getting paid so much more than the private sector employees. I mean, you have two different economies, one working for the private sector employees and the other for the public service employees. Yep. Somehow or other, that's going to have to be brought together, because otherwise we're facing a fiscal crisis at the level of the states, at the level of the cities, and at the level of the country.
Yeah, and Mort, you're right. There's no doubt. And that's what, listen, when I talked about the new normal yesterday in the budget address, what I was talking about was that we have to reconfigure this. Change pensions, change health benefits, cut back spending that we've been doing for 20 years, and we don't even try to rationalize it anymore. It just gets recycled every year. And by the way, in the budget yesterday, I increased aid to education by $250 million. We're cutting business taxes by $200 million because our economy in New Jersey is starting to come back, because we made the tough choices last year to cut all the spending that we cut and didn't say, okay, let's refund all of it this year. We said, no, what are our priorities? I want to reinvest in education, so we put more than a third of the money I took back last year back in this year. We want to cut taxes to help build jobs, so we have $200 million in tax cuts, and we increased the aid to hospitals because people are still going there because they don't have health insurance to be able to get treated, so we increased that by another $20 million. So we're investing in some of the priorities that we need to, but at the same time, spending is lower in our budget this year than it was last year, because we're cutting out the underbrush, and we got to get these benefits and pensions under control one way or the other.
A question I've been asking about Wisconsin has to do with leadership, and the attributes of leadership would be being able to deliver the truth to people, but also being fair. In your state, are you asking the wealthiest to give a little too?
The wealthiest in my state already pay a rate of 9%. Which is among the highest in the nation, and they pay the top 1% pay 41% of the income tax in New Jersey. I think the wealthiest are making a big contribution.
Do you think that Governor Walker is making a mistake by not spreading the pain?
Well, listen, I don't know what his tax rates are, Mika, and I don't know how much his top people pay already, but he's got to meet the test of shared sacrifice. Everyone has to, and he's got to meet that test too. And if I knew what all of his rates were, I could sit here and give you an opinion. I don't.
So what's going on across America? Because you know when you first came on the scene and we started praising you, we had a lot of Democrats become enraged. You're just a right-wing partisan hack, which of course is a joke, because I've been criticizing Bush Republicans for a decade now for not doing what you do. But now in New York State, we've got Andrew Cuomo, who I've got to say, nothing personal, you're still our hero. But I'm willing to give Andrew Cuomo some Kool-Aid to drink too, because what he is doing in New York, in a state every bit or more dysfunctional than New Jersey, for a Democrat, for the son of a liberal icon, is nothing short of remarkable.
No, listen, he's doing a great job. Governor Cuomo's doing a great job. And listen, Governor Brown's doing tough things in California.
Governor Brown's doing some really tough things. Now, do they call you? Do you talk to Andrew Cuomo?
Listen, Andrew Cuomo and I talk about issues that are common to our state. We share a port authority. Yeah. We share a lot of common things. But the conversations I have with him are between Governor Cuomo and me. But the important thing to emphasize here, and I said in the speech yesterday, is these ideas, what we're doing, they're not red or blue ideas. Right. They're black and white. It's the truth. That's what they are. And that's why Cuomo and Brown and Walker and Kasich and Christie are all doing the same thing. It's not that we all woke up one morning and achieved the same political philosophy. What happened was we all woke up and we're looking at the same books. Yeah. We're looking at the same books.
What you just said, sort of a take on what we've been saying, Mika, for a long time. It's not about ideology. It's about math, and Mort, the numbers just don't add up.
The states of this country are facing cumulative deficits of about $150 billion. Something's got to give somewhere. Andrew Cuomo, as you say, not only when he ran and he was perceived as a liberal Democrat, he said, look, this is what I'm running on. He made it very clear. He put it in pamphlets. He says, I'm going to cut back on these costs. And he's now facing up to the political challenge.
Can you believe that? Can you believe he did that?
Well, otherwise he knows he would be a failed governor. And he doesn't want to be a failed governor. And his political ambitions are quite serious. Yeah. And he knows this is the only thing that we can do. It's not just in New York. And as you say, it is black and white. What's been going on in terms of the public service unions and the burdens that they have put on the other taxpayers is just extraordinary.
Jerry Brown in California, and then let's go to Newark again, and let's talk about a guy who a lot of New Jersey Democrats and national Democrats love, and that's Cory Booker. Yep. Cory Booker has been fighting public sector unions every bit as much as you. Newark today, Governor, is it not a less safe city than it was even a year ago. Jim Cramer and I were talking about this last hour because the police union there was so irresponsible. They didn't take the cutbacks that other police unions across the state of New Jersey did. And Cory Booker, Democrat, was forced to lay off a lot of cops.
Listen, I met with you know, Cory and our friends, and we met 2 weeks ago.
He's a great guy.
Understand this statistic to understand how the corrosive effect of public sector unions in this country and in New Jersey. The average cost for a cop in Newark, 68% of the cost is fringe benefits.
Wow.
68% of the cost is fringe benefits, 32% salary. In the city of Camden, where Mayor Dana Red, who is not yet as famous as Cory, but is looking every bit as courageous, 71% of her police costs are fringe benefits. This is crazy. And you know,
so what can be done?
Well, listen, you got to fight. And in New Jersey, we're fighting it by saying, I'm not giving any more money from the state for this kind of garbage. And I put a 2% property tax cap on.
And
so
by the way, Cory Booker is not asking you for more money.
Nope.
For these outrageous claims. So what happens? Can you somehow bring in other law enforcement
officers? Well, we're looking at regional options now.
Regional options. You know, regional police.
The county of Camden is looking at creating a regional police force. And that all the cities in the county of Camden would sign a shared services agreement with the county to provide policing services at much less cost. You know, now, again, what you'll hear if we do that is the same thing you heard about Scott Walker. Oh, the governor's trying to break the union. Well, let me ask you a question. We said to Camden, you got to bring down the costs. The mayor said, please give me concessions. And they said, no. And she said, I got to lay off 140 cops then. And they said, you won't do it.
Yeah.
She did it.
But getting rid of collective bargaining is breaking the union. How else would you characterize that? If they give on everything and then you get rid of collective bargaining.
Well, first of all,
they're not giving.
First of all,
they have given
first of all,
well, no, I'm not talking about Wisconsin.
I'm talking about New Jersey. I can't, you know, get into micromanaging Wisconsin from New Jersey. If Scott tried to do it from me from Wisconsin, I'd give him a hard time. I'm not going to do it to him. But what I'm going to say in New Jersey is they've given nothing.
Okay.
They've given nothing, Mika, and I'm still not trying to break collective bargaining. But what I'm telling you, that's what you're going to hear. If I say, listen, I can't afford this anymore, please give us concessions because we don't want to lay anybody off. We don't want to lay off police officers. I want to keep them working. But I can't afford this anymore. The city of Camden has a $92 million deficit in Camden. I sent them $68 million to help bridge the gap from the state. They said to the unions, help us bridge this $24 million gap? No. No. Well, you know, the taxpayers in New Jersey aren't going to pay any more for Camden's excesses.
So the problem is obviously multidimensional, though, and you're looking at the numbers here and you're becoming a star because of what you're doing with the numbers and what you're saying to people, which is giving them the truth about where we stand and the problems that states face. The other issue is job creation, which is something that you take seriously, as most leaders do. 5,000 jobs have left New Jersey since you became governor. Are deficit-reducing measures and all these other issues maybe working against what also needs to be done in New Jersey, which is to create jobs and to bring jobs to your state?
Well, the problem is that we've created 16,000 private sector jobs. It's a net job loss of 5,000 because of all the public sector jobs we've cut. So you can't just look at the jobs lost number. You have to look at where they got lost from. We've lost well over 20,000 public sector jobs, but we've added, in my year as governor, 16,000 private sector jobs. That's the growth I want.
So you've lost.
That's the growth I want.
You've lost 20,000 government
jobs. USA Today recently said New Jersey has shed by percentage more public sector jobs in the last year than any state in America. And the reason we've done it is because our government was bloated and too big at every level.
Mika, can you believe that in Camden, New Jersey, and we're not talking about Wisconsin because I agree with you, the unions in Wisconsin, from what we understand, they've given. They've given, all right? And so now it is an ideological battle about collective bargaining. But can you believe that a police officer in Camden, New Jersey, 71% of the expenses are benefits? 71%. That is obscene.
They get paid a shift differential to show up on the day shift. Well, when are you supposed to show up? I mean, seriously,
come on. It's great stuff.
They get paid birthdays off. They get paid birthdays off.
I want that job.
Right? I mean, seriously, Mika, listen. All I can talk to you about is in New Jersey. And in New Jersey, we're not trying to break the unions. The unions are trying to break the middle class in New Jersey. through the expenses, and they're close to doing it. And this government, our government, is the only thing that can stand up and fight that.